subtly guiding events in the pursuit of some unknown plan. After Escrador, the Legion had splintered, not in the manner of a shattering glass, but of a fragmentation round entering a body. Each piece dug into the flesh of the Imperium, and stopping and removing one would do nothing to affect the progress of the others. But the splinters were, by the same token, no longer part of a unified whole. Some notable commander had presumably taken the Alpha, and another perhaps the Beta, and they had passed out of everyone's histories. There is this strong streak within the Alpha Legion of actually being loyal to the Emperor, and this is quite funny because historically it was always a bit of a meme, right? Let's just be real. The idea that maybe Omegon was loyalist and Alfarius was a traitor, but actually now we have it in the lore pretty conclusively that the Alpha Legion did have huge loyalist elements, and potentially maybe that is the end game for this Legion. They are a very peculiar Legion. That book there, Harrow Master, gives us a huge insight into how a lot of the warbands run. It's not all of them. However, there are a bunch of them that fall under the sway of Solomon Akura. And we find out that a lot of them are directly opposed in a very similar way, I think, to the Fallen of the Dark Angels. Some of them genuinely do regret the fact that they turned on the Emperor. They even have like barbed wire inside of their helmets to kind of punish themselves. Some of them profess to be loyalists. Some of them have totally sworn in with chaos. Some of them are seeming to like test the Imperium by attacking Imperial outposts and in theory making it stronger over time. But Ingo Peck is still out there in theory. We have never found out what has happened to him. Now, I was quite surprised by that, to the degree that I intended to make this video after the End and the Death Volume 1, and I did talk about this topic a little bit back then. However, I figured that it would be resolved. I figured that John Grammaticus would find his way back to Ingo Peck and somehow free him, and then we'd finally get this, revelation as to what happened to this character. But we have never found out, and so officially by the end of the Horus Heresy, that's where he is. Now, it's absolutely something that could be discovered in the Scouring, but it kind of makes your mind wander. There are a bunch of really interesting options for us here as to what could have happened to this character, and of course the rest of the Alpha Legionnaires who are in stasis under the Imperial Palace, who the Custodians, if they discover Ingo Peck, they might find out that it's totally possible that they could awaken these Alpha Legionnaires and have a series of loyalist Alpha Legionnaires essentially. So ultimately this is a huge plot point Games Workshop has to play with in the future. In terms of what happened to Ingo Peck, a few things do come to mind. The first is there is a secretive subject known as Subject 11, which exists under the Imperial Palace, something we spoke about in the video on the two Primarchs. And in that video, of course, we thought, well, maybe that could be the 11th Primarch. Maybe that's what 11 stands for. It's a bit on the nose, but it absolutely could work. However, Subject 11 could be Ingo Peck. It could be Ingo Peck found by the Custodians and kept in stasis under the Imperial Palace. There are a bunch of Alfariuses that pop up throughout the storylines of Warhammer 40k. Of course, one of them in the Beckwin series, there's an Alpha Legionnaire known as Deathrow, who refers to himself as Alfarius, who actually is serving the Inquisitor Eisenhorn. Now, his purpose in the novel seems to be to kind of prove how far Inquisitor Eisenhorn has fallen in terms of his radicalization, but potentially this is a tie-in. I'm going to try and not make every stream just me talking about the King in Yellow, but one of the things I have talked about a lot is how many links we have between the End and the Death and the Beckwin series. And what if this is another one? What if this is Ingo Peck? Perhaps he has came out of, he got out of there somehow, perhaps he was freed and he became loyal to the Imperium, and ultimately Ingo Peck served the Inquisition. There's a lot of options here that work pretty well, so I'm excited to hear kind of what you guys think, really. Benny, hey, I really enjoy your content, and also let me just say you have a great voice. Keep it up. Thank you, man, and thanks for being a member for a month. Yeah, guys, I should say more often, I always forget, I do have memberships on the channel, and if you join, you get access to additional content. So there's a video went up today on Ferrous Manus. There's another video going up this week on Perturabo. There's, yeah, a bunch of extra content that you can see on the channel, and you get access to the Discord, etc. I think after like 80 books in the Horus Heresy, if they're going to back all of the Primarchs, they need to change them. I'd love a non-chaos successionist Rabute. Hope Engaged Life is treating you well. Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I've been slowly trying to convince her how I can have a Warhammer wedding. I've realized that if I can do this gradually, I reckon I can take this quite far. So, for example, I mentioned the other day, I was like, why don't you just let me name the tables? Let me name the tables. And I can think of some pretty cool names. You're going to be on table McCrag, Mum and Dad. Hey sis, you're going to be on table Caliban. I'm just thinking, what I thought originally would be quite good is all of if I just name them after all Dark Angels, people would just think I had named the tables after angels. They'd be like, oh, I didn't realize you were so religious. And I'd be like, honestly, it was just really important to me. Secretly, I'd know, but actually, it was all connected to the First Legion. So there's that. And I obviously said, like, look, you know, look, obviously, we've got to have a little Warhammer Mini on top of the cake. I'm thinking the Lion. You know, keep it simple, right? And I think we look alike. I'm slowly working her towards this. And I'm curious how much I can get before the wedding. I don't think I'm ever going to get like a 20 Space Marine gun salute down the aisle. I think I'm probably shooting too far there. But I'm curious how many Warhammer touches can I get into this wedding. This is totally not related to the topic, but when is the Khan coming back? We have Rabute the Statesman, we have the Knights, we need the Khan, but how would you bring him back? I actually did a stream on the Khan, so yeah, go check that out. But my personal theory is I actually think the Khan is going to be the next Primarch to return. And the reason for that is partially because of Ashes of Prospero, where the Khan is actually mentioned after the Lion, partly because like we have books like The Last Hunt, which is a book directly leading into the return of the Khan, and the lore around the Khan is far more solid compared to the lore of the other missing Primarchs. And one of the things I've spoken about before is the Comora on the channel. So Drukhari are probably doing the worst of all factions in Warhammer 40k. And firstly, that's pretty great, isn't it? It's nice to know the evil space elves are having a bad time. Sorry guys, but they're just awful people. With the Comora in such a bad spot, if they get a little concentration, I think we're likely to see kind of Fulgrim pop up as we need for the models, and of course then it leads into the Khan. It all fits. It's synergy, absolute synergy. Harrow Master is a nice book. It is a good book. Yeah, no, that was really... I mean, Mike Brooks has written two very different Alpha Legion books, and they both work really well. So I guess one thing I should probably talk about, because it's quite hard to talk about the Alpha Legion as a topic, because Alfarius and Omegon technically switch. So one of the things that comes up in Alfarius' Primarch novel is them meeting, and they actually switch places. So technically when we say Alfarius we mean Omegon, and when we say Omegon we mean Alfarius, but typically I just try to say it as the book say it. But I appreciate a lot of people, when I say the word Alfarius, will go, oh, you mean Omegon? And you're technically right, but I try to do it the way the books do it, because that's probably the simplest way for everything. And technically that Alfarius novel, it's a big meme you might have seen where people, it opens with the words, I am Alfarius, this is a lie, the idea being that you don't have to believe the book if you don't want to. So yeah, I kind of just present things as the lore presents them, but technically speaking, yeah, I know every time I talk about the Alpha Legion, it's guaranteed, because whatever way around I do it, people will go, isn't it Alfarius, isn't it Omegon? Yeah, it's an unwinnable battle, but it's worth mentioning, because you might hear me say Alfarius in a video, and then you might see someone online or someone else in a video say Omegon, and technically both are true, but none are true. It's a whole thing. You get what I'm saying. But they don't turn to chaos, they are just traitors. So some are just traitors, some are fully into chaos, and some are not. The idea that the Alpha Legion have a simple answer is not true, I guess, because there's so much to them. And the point of Harrow Master, one of the big themes of the book, is that even within, I think it's the Ultimate Segmenter, they're split into warbands. A lot of them don't get along, and they've warred with each other at times, and they have different philosophies and different beliefs in what they should do. And the part of the book is the Harrow Master uniting them. And he gets the blades of the Pale Spear, which was, I'm going to say, Omegon's weapon. And so using those, he actually unites them all. But yeah, there's really not a unified point of view overall, because remember, that's not even the Harrow Master warbands. Those aren't all of the warbands. That's on the Eastern Fringe, I think those warbands are from. Just imagine a custodian wandering around the palace and stumbling upon a bunch of Alpha Legionnaires. It's a really great image, isn't it? I like to imagine that one of the custodians wanted like a soda or something. I say soda because I'm trying to appeal to an American audience. And he's like, oh, we're out. So he goes downstairs and like opens a fridge because he knows there's a second fridge downstairs. And inside of it is just a frozen Alpha Legionnaire. I want this novel now, GW. I think that would be so funny. Why would Ingo Cell be labelled Sal 11? I mean, look, that's fine, but essentially what you're asking for there is why wouldn't Games Workshop be painfully obvious in how they write nuggets of lore? Like, obviously, it's so painful to have the 11th Primarch kept in Cell 11. Wasn't it said that he could remove the mine himself if he moved slow enough? It would take days, but doable. I don't think it's official that he can do it himself, but he might be able to. So John Gramaskis does say he'll come back for him. However, if they write into the book, oh, he got out himself and was fine, yeah, I wouldn't mind it. But I kind of like the idea that he was found by a custodian. just, hey man, you remember me? I'm not Alfarius. The funny thing about that is that Alfarius actually snuck through the Imperial Palace when he first was found by the Emperor. He was officially found on, well, unofficially he was found on Terra, and he actually does like his own version of the Blood Games, where he makes his way through the Imperial Palace. He actually kills a custodian and sneaks through, and he gets himself into a position where he's able to take out, I think it's the Emperor's ship. And so he actually gets to a position where he could assassinate the Master of Mankind, and Constantine Valder actually engages him for a bit. So the custodians are very aware of the fact that the Alpha Legion are very good at breaking into the Imperial Palace, and Alfarius did it before. It's actually why the Blood Games came about, because Alfarius broke into the Imperial Palace so early on. It just became a whole thing. One of the warbands in Harrow Master talks about this, where one of the things that they do is they kind of attack Imperial outposts and stuff, because if they destroy them, they were too weak and they should be rebuilt to be stronger, and they try and find defenses in the Imperium. So in their own messed up way, they believe they're serving the Imperium. I guess that kind of has roots in the actions of Alfarius. If Alfarius is anywhere in 40k alive, his character fits him being hidden in the Black Library. I like the idea of one of the Primarchs working with the Harlequins. I would go Jagatai Khan because he's in the weapon. But yeah, Alfarius would work. Would you say Bobby G is as mid-tier as people make out? Or is he underrated? Oh, he's definitely underrated. I love Bobby G. No Fear is like probably the best book with him in. It depends who writes it. I think that there are books where he's quite bland. But actually, I would say Rabute Gilliman is hands down the funniest Primarch. Easily. He's constantly cracking jokes in the novels. One day I'll make a list. I'll compile all of the Rabute Gilliman zingers. They're so good. I don't know why they always go to that well. But I think if they don't know what to do with Gilliman in the scene, they have him tell a joke and make fun of one of his brothers. Fun theory. Dawn, genius that he was, spared Omegon's life and returns with Omegon by his side. So I don't think we would see Dawn sparing, I'm going to say Alfarius because the book says Alfarius, but you're right to say Omegon. I don't think we would see Dawn spare Alfarius, purely because in the next scene without Omegon, we have him believing and feeling that Alfarius is dead. I don't think there's a way of writing around that, because they share a soul. It's an incredibly strong bond. I will say there, I can't remember the wording, but in Alfarius Head of the Hydra by Mike Brooks, Alfarius does talk about Dawn a little bit, and you know, essentially I think there's maybe you could maybe read into that potentially he sees Dawn as a bit predictable, so maybe he would have been able to predict Dawn's actions here, but it just wouldn't make sense as to why Alfarius did what he did in that novel. So I mean, the whole novel is kind of weird in that respect. If you're not familiar, throughout Praetorian of Dawn, Alfarius kind of does everything right. All the subroutines and the teams that they work with all work together perfectly. Everyone does their job. It gets Alfarius to Dawn, and basically the purpose, it seems, is to have been trying to test the Imperium's defenses and then try and convince Dawn what they should be doing is actually, you know, trying to focus on defeating Chaos. But it's just not what it can. I don't know. I think it'll go around. This is the problem with the Alpha Legion, right? This problem I have with them is that they do so much that is incredible, and they're on top of everything. There's a certain point where you get to like, well, what was the point of this though? Why are you doing this? Finding someone who understands the Cabal is so much of an afterthought, lame as. I think that I feel like the Cabal, they originally had a different plan for this. Like he was planning to, yeah, maybe build them into a whole faction in 40k or something like that, because the way that, sorry, if you're not familiar, the Cabal, this conglomeration, I don't know if that's the right word, of ancient Xenos who are obsessed with taking down the primordial annihilator Chaos. They come to the conclusion that humanity may have to be destroyed, and then they try to get Alfarius on their side and the Alpha Legion, and they kind of do, but they also kind of don't. And leading them for a lot of Legion is Eldrad Ulthuan, and he is a servant of the Cabal throughout a lot of the books, and we see him in Unremembered Empire again talking to John Grammaticus. And later on, Eldrad Ulthuan just changes his mind. He just goes, oh no, I've decided now that because the Cabal have now decided that humanity must be destroyed, which I already knew about, I think this is a really callous and unnecessary sacrifice, and it won't necessarily stop Chaos. This is just I think it's like a ritual sacrifice, I think is the wording used in the book, and it's not actually going to necessarily do anything, so the Cabal must be destroyed. I was just like, but didn't you figure this out earlier, Eldrad? How did you not clock onto this? They were obviously done. Could the soul of the twins become one after Alfarius's soul got separated from his body? That's a great question. I think so. I mean, it's said that they share a soul, so I would assume that the two parts unite into one. But it's tough to say. We're in pretty uncharted territory with that. So this storyline to me is kind of fascinating because it is still open. We don't actually know what Games Workshop and Black Library and I guess Dan Abnett really are building towards. Are we going to see Ingo Peck brought into the King in Yellow storyline somehow? Potentially he's the Alpha Legionnaire working with Eisenhorn. Are we going to see him as kind of a secret servant of the Custodians? You know, I'm fascinated to see what they do with this storyline. Do let me know what you guys think is going to happen with this. You know, an entire kind of secret loyalist army of Alpha Legionnaires is a potential massive upset in the future, or maybe one day the Alpha Legion will attack the Imperium and, you know, they'll activate all of these Alpha Legionnaires under the Imperial Palace somehow. There's a lot of options here in terms of plot devices. I can't wait to see what they do with this story in the future. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Where do you think they're going to go with this? But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content, and I'll see you next time.
I am Iskandar Kaon, born of Prospero. In the Low Gothic of the Terran Urals region, you would speak Iskandar as Secondar and Kaon as Cain. The Thousand Sons know me as Kaon the Black for my sins against our bloodline. My War Master's forces name me Kingbreaker, the mage who brought Magnus the Red to his knees. I am the war leader of the Kar-Shahan, a lord of the Ezekarion, and a brother to Ezekiel Abaddon. I shed blood with him at the dawn of the Long War, when the first of us stood armored in black beneath the rising red sun.
For a lot of people, I think that passage was quite eyebrow-raising, or dare I say it, controversial even. For the most part, we are told that the demon Primarchs are these godlike figures on the battlefield, and so to learn that Magnus the Red, the Primarch of the Thousand Suns, one of the strongest sorcerers in the galaxy, was outmatched by a Space Marine, and not just a Space Marine, one of his own sons. How can this have possibly happened? It is worth noting that Iskandar is incredibly powerful. In the Thousand Suns, he's second only to Ahriman in terms of power scale. However, his gene father is able to bring planets into reality, swell to the size of a titan, burn every atom within Vulcan at once. So how in the love of the Dark Gods did a sorcerer of the Black Legion pull this off? Well, Aram Dembski Bowden has told us that we will see this showdown in the final Black Legion novel, but I think I figured it out. I believe that Iskandar Kaon will discover the true name of Magnus the Red. Now, this is no simple moniker. Magnus's true name is not Magnus the Red. It's not even Magnus did nothing wrong or anything like that. But he has a demonic name, because when he ascended to demonhood, he became a part of the god Tzeentch, and so he does share in the drawbacks that all demons share in. Names are incredibly powerful in Warhammer 40k. Grey Knight names are actually the antithesis of a demon name, and this allows them to have power over that demon. Constantine Valdor is able to learn demon names when he stabs them with the Apollonian Spear, and again, that grants him power over those demons should he see them again. Luther, the enemy of the Dark Angels, in his madness would cry out demon names, and these were noted down and memorized by the chapter masters of the Dark Angels, who again use these demon names to overpower these demons should they come upon them. Now, the problem with the demon Primarchs is that even if you did learn their name, if you tried to say it, it may kill you. So we see this happen in the book Slaves to Darkness. This book takes place towards the end of the Horus Heresy, and at this point Horus is actually wounded following his fight against Leman Russ. However, this will be resolved later on. But the traitor forces are preparing for the final assault on Terra. However, they are missing two key components, and those components are Fulgrim and Angron. Both Fulgrim and Angron have ascended to demonhood, and the problem with that is they have kind of lost all interest in the war. Angron is building massive skull thrones and killing things, and Fulgrim is in Slaaneish's palace and doing whatever it is that people do in Slaaneish's palace. When we actually see him in the novel, he's actually hanging out with the demon Nakari. Perturabo is tasked with going to fetch Angron, and Lorgar decides to go and get Fulgrim. However, Lorgar has also decided, very dangerously, to be Lorgar. He is the traitor's traitor, and at this point in the Horus Heresy, he has decided that Horus Lupercal is no longer a fitting war master, and would like to take his place. Knowing that Horus would beat him to a pulp, he decides to use Fulgrim as a pawn to dispatch Horus so that he can then take his rightful place as the new War Master of Chaos. In order to do this, he decides to use Fulgrim's true name. However, the book seems to imply that Lorgar cannot do this himself because Fulgrim would see it coming, and so he uses one of his sons, Zardu Lyak. A void opened in Lyak's mind. Words unfolded into blackness, spreading into strings of syllables that reached past language and into eternity. It was not language, not as mortals could speak it. It was a name, a single name spoken by nightmares beyond the door of sleep. On and on it went, curling like a serpent. He felt his soul shriek, but the fragments of knowledge were bursting out from where they had been seeded inside him. Each of them was a part of the name, a slice of the word that pushed up from the void and into his throat. The first syllable coughed into the air in a splatter of blood. The stones of the piazza shook. Fulgrim twisted as though struck, and now time was winding slowly as the syllables sliced through the instants. The crowd howled in rage. Lorgar's mace was in his hand, lit with lightning. His halo was flame. A pulse of telepathic command snapped out. The guns of the word-bearers came up, fingers on triggers. All of these things happened in the split second it took Fulgrim to rear up and turn. He grew as he moved, faster than a lightning strike, body swelling with anger. The sky flashed to black. Light became blinding. Lightning cloaked his muscle, freezing into plates of armor. Curved swords manifested in his fists as they rose. His eyes fastened on Lyak, burning with fury. Lyak could feel the gaze passing through his flesh and armor, stripping back the wards written on his skin and shivering through his body. The mask was glowing white hot against his face. He felt small, an insect flying into a thunderstorm. Fulgrim lashed forwards, the word-bearers opened fire, the crowd charged. Lorgar leapt to block the path of his demonic brother as Lyak felt another molten, writhing sound force its way onto his tongue, and the next syllable of Fulgrim's true name split the air. Fulgrim came forwards, wings unfolded from the air behind his shoulders. He grew as he moved, a blur of colour and edges. Behind him, Nikari began to rear off the dais, flesh rippling, its face a mask of delighted rage. They would not survive long. Even without the transcendent power of Fulgrim, they were facing a city, a world. They would die here, and their souls would be taken and spun on looms of agony for eternity. The only way for him to survive was for him to speak the name that was tearing its way out of his mind. Lorgar had known that, he realized. That is why he had only brought a small force. He had lulled Fulgrim into vulnerability. He had misdirected his demon brother's attention by hiding his true weapon behind the shield of Lyak's mask and in the void within his soul. And it had worked, for there was still time for the sword-bearer to die before the blow fell. Gunfire spat from the word-bearers. Explosions tore into Fulgrim's flesh. Blood scattered into the air, burning to indigo smoke. Telekinetic force whipped out, plucked 3 word-bearers from their feet, and crushed them like overripe fruit. The invisible force lashed into the next warrior and met a dome of golden light. A blinding flash stripped the air of colour. Lorgar stepped forwards, his scepter at his side, his hand raised. Fulgrim leapt into the air with a snap of his coils, psychic force shrieking around him. Curved swords, a blurred halo as they swept down to strike. Lorgar raised his scepter, and shadows unfolded from him, spreading his shape across the ground and air. Fulgrim's sword swept down, and the shadows rose to meet them. Lyak's sight went black as more segments of the true name clawed into the air. He was sweating blood, shivering, screaming, with a choking throat. "You wanted the power of the gods," said a spiteful voice in his mind. "Now taste its truth." "No," came another voice, rising from the void where the true name had coiled in his soul. "I never wanted anything of the false gods. He felt his knees fold and the staff fall from his fingers. He could hear the roar of voices and the howling of reality. His sight blinked back into focus. Another link in the infernal chain of Fulgrim's demonic name snapped into sound. Fulgrim flinched as he twisted and reared. Lorgar struck. Perfumed blood and pearlescent scales tore away as the spiked scepter smashed through armor. Lyak vomited a stream of sounds. Fulgrim fell back, shivering, shrinking, and Lorgar was pressing his attack, hammering his brother back and down. Lyak could feel the last syllable of the name, sitting in the depths of his soul like a red-hot coal. It was so close that he could taste it. It tasted of honey and raw meat. He could not do it though. Grey armor, he could see grey armour and feel the heat of a pyre as the creed of the false gods poured into the night sky on tongues of flame. "We burn the past to make the future," said a thought. Pain spiraled in its wake. Echoes and images clung to his mind like a bruise. He felt the last syllable rise to his mouth. The vision of battle snapped back into motion. Sheets of light were scything through the air, and the throng of bodies was a bloody wave. Fulgrim reared from the ground, swords in hand, bloody wings a hood behind his head. Blood glossed the crimson of Lorgar's armour. His eyes were sunken in his face. He turned, dragging the head of his mace behind him, like a comet pulling its tail of flame through the night sky. Fulgrim met the blow with crossed swords, but the force of it cannoned him backwards. Blood, so dark that it was purple, streaked the ground. Nakari bellowed. Until now, Fulgrim's consort had left the demigods to their fight, but now it came to the bloody ground in a blur. The exalted demon had sloughed off its previous shape. Coils of thick flesh lay on the ground in folds. Its pudgy mockery of Fulgrim's face was gone. Lorgar straightened to meet the exalted demon, hand raised as though in a piecemeal greeting. Fulgrim stared at his feet, bloody, blades and wings rising. Lyak spoke the last syllable of the name.
Zardu Lyak is actually a very powerful sorcerer. His sacrifice during the Siege of Terra is actually the sacrifice that allows demons to manifest on the birth world of humanity. So he is a very strong psyker, and it appears to be a necessary component of this ritual because, as you saw in that passage, it took a massive toll on the sorcerer. He was spitting blood, he was going blind, he was having headaches, and it is very clear to me that therefore it's not as easy as just speaking a name. Additionally, there's more background behind how hard it was for Lorgar to pull this off. So it wasn't as easy as just Lorgar learning the name himself and just saying it to Fulgrim, because Fulgrim's now a powerful psyker. He would have been able to see that coming. We find out in the novel that they go through a very lengthy process in order to hide the name in the void within Zardu Layak's soul. So they actually have a horde of cultists, and each one of them holds a little bit of Fulgrim's name. Zardu Layak actually pulls parts of the name out of all of their minds, and therefore that allows him to kind of speak the name. It was a very, very difficult thing to pull off, but it does work. So after that passage, Fulgrim does fall under the sway of Lorgar essentially by proxy, and Lorgar prepares to have Fulgrim slay the War Master Horus Lupercal. This doesn't work out as well as you can imagine, so in the end, Zardu Layak and the witch Acte, who's also working with them at this stage, end up siding with Horus Lupercal, and Horus does indeed end up beating Lorgar to a pulp, and that is actually the reason you don't see Lorgar during the Siege of Terra. Horus only just lets Lorgar live, but he does tell Lorgar that if he sees him again, he'll probably kill him. Thankfully for Lorgar, Horus, of course, does die fighting against the Emperor, but Lorgar nearly pulled this off. And so I wanted to talk about this today because I think it is kind of my go-to reaction to the question of how can Iskandar Kaon dominate
the demon Primarch of the Thousand Suns, a sorcerer who is far stronger than he. I think somehow Iskandar is going to learn the true name of his demonic gene father, and he's going to be able to use this to actually force Magnus the Red to bend the knee to Abaddon. And we know that this does take a massive toll on Iskandar. So one of the things that he notes in the novel later on is that Iskandar's armor is kind of melted into his skin. Now this isn't too uncommon. A lot of Chaos Space Marines do have their armor kind of morphed into them. If you've ever seen a Chaos Space Marine model, you'll know what I mean.
I was there, the day Horus slew the Emperor. Myths grow like crystals, according to their own recurrent pattern, but there must be a suitable core to start their growth. The difference between gods and demons largely depends upon where one is standing at the time.
Hello everybody, the Siege of Terra is over, and I thought I would play those lines. Those are actually the very first lines that you read in Horus Rising, the first book of the Horus Heresy, and I think it's worth remembering that even that was controversial, starting the Horus Heresy, because the heresy is the mythology of the setting. It is the myths that Space Marines tell themselves, and to actually uncover the weeds of what went on was something that was innately controversial. And for example, you know, kind of going straight in, I guess, the Blood Angels tell themselves over and over again that the death of Sanguinius was this incredibly noble and necessary act because his death allowed the Emperor to beat Horus by exploiting a weakness within his son. But then Dan Abnett wrote The End and the Death Volume 2 and 3, and there doesn't really seem to have been any impact that Sanguinius' death had. Exactly why, you know, whether that's a good thing or not, I don't really know, but it absolutely makes sense because no Blood Angels were there during the Siege of Terra, well, during the final confrontation. And so they would have absolutely no idea what impact their father had. So of course, they're going to tell themselves that the death of their gene father was a necessary and vital act. Hello everybody, welcome to another stream. I hope you're all doing well. I am currently working on a more detailed view of the Horus Heresy, well, of the Siege of Terra at the very least, and the battle between the Emperor and Horus, but that is currently underway. So I thought I would kind of do a more casual stream tonight, talking about what we think of this final book, and I guess really the final 3 books, because they absolutely are one novel realistically. It's just, it is physically impossible to bind a hard book back that large apparently, so that's why it was split up. So I thought we would talk about it. I said on Saturday that I was like, look, I don't know how to review this book at this point because it hasn't properly sunk in. It hasn't sunk in how impactful, you know, certain changes have been and whether I actually like it. And I kind of wanted to see what other people thought of it. It's very hard not to have your opinion twisted once you hear other opinions. So I kind of thought I would jump on stream, see what you guys think, and I thought I'd share my thoughts. But how is everybody? Hawkins Cohen Leather. If you haven't checked out Hawkins Cohen Leather, he does great products. Go check him out. He's a very good friend of the channel. Hello everybody. I'm building my Grey Knights right now as we speak. I enjoy spending money on the model side more than the books. Fair enough. I've read a lot of Lexicanum, Wikipedia, watched tons of videos from Sandman to other creators. I have infinite questions and stuff, but so far I love the universe. Good. Good. Can you explain using your painted figures on the shelf? No, that would be great. I could do the Astronomicon bit. If I can borrow someone's Sigismund, I can definitely do the Astronomicon part. That would be great. Well, the way GW has hurt the Blood Angels in the game with mediocre rules, their nerfed ending to the story is appropriate. Fair enough. Sorry, Blood Angel fans. Seems perfect for a grim, dark universe. The Golden Child, Sanguinius, died for nothing. Yeah, I think, and you know, going, I guess, straight into things that I love. One of the things about the death of Sanguinius, and I guess the final confrontation that I really liked, I think a lot of people did, was how brutal it was. They were absolutely savage scenes. I believe the phrase beaten like a dog is used when Horus finally kills Sanguinius. He beats the hell out of his father, like bringing the maul down on his head multiple times. Their battle is fascinating because we see them kind of, you know, battle across multiple dimensions, etc. Very, very cool. So I really enjoyed that. It was you know, seeing that reaction of Sanguinius in the End of the Death Volume 2 as he beats Horus again and again, it seems, to all of a sudden realize that Horus has been playing with him all along, and there's nothing, you know, nothing you can do. It was brutal. You know, it was kind of cool to read. It is the grim dark future. It's what we all love about the setting. Okay, Hawkins and Co Leather with a $50 super chat. Thank you very much. I have something of interest to contribute. Sandman, 10% of Leather Goods, or Sandman of Terror, 200% of our marathon GSAR watch.
I can't believe you don't know who I am.
25 coupons available. Thanks, man. Yeah, cool. So yeah, looks like it's the impromptu.
You'll dopamine the fuck out. Not a whole lot, man. Yeah, I don't have any sleeping medication, so I'm at fucking 5 AM. Yeah. I need to like make a call, but it's just not gonna fucking happen. Hold on. Oh, you can't get it over counter in the UK. Yeah, no, like I literally, like the only way I can get to sleep on my own at the moment is by like doing meds and then smoking. Like so fucking cooked. Yeah, no, I don't even know. Ugh. What are you playing? I've only heard like really bad things. Really? I feel like it's just like such a brain game. Yeah. I have to, no, legit, I have to keep myself away from games like that. Like grinding games, I fucking lose myself. There's just never any enjoyment in it. Like, I get so addicted to those things because of like the fucking stupid dopamine of these progression shit. Like, I played it for a little bit. I didn't really get into it though. No, I've been like a big Destiny kid since like fucking like a decade ago, and then like Warframe I was really big on too. But like, yeah, I think I'm good, bro. I prefer my Warframe without you girls in there. Oh, it sounds wonderful, man. Oh, I feel like I'm really missing out here. This sounds like such a brilliant experience. You know, I could play the Elden Ring DLC, but First Descendant, oh, I can't wait to go and grind. I haven't played that DLC, no. My Elden Ring has been fucked for the longest time because I did a randomizer and it's like completely corrupted my whole thing. It was really fun when I did it. Like I had a good run on it, but like I uninstalled it, completely forgot about all that shit, and got it back. Tried to get rid of it. Like it's so fucked. I do not know how to fix it. Yeah.
Casualties are mounting. What a disaster.
Yeah, no. Dude, I'd always get like Fallout 4 and be like, I can't wait to mod this game and play it through, and I'll get like all the mods, and I'll spend like hours just looking at mods and shit, and I'll be like, time to play Fallout, and I'll play through like the first 10 minutes and be like, yeah, I'm done. Just don't play it. Oh man, that sucks. I hate having to troubleshoot. Oh man. It's actually the worst. Yeah. I've had such a hard time getting into like games at all recently, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I'm actually, oh my god, I will get like so many like little games and play through like fucking an hour of it.
Corresponding reinforcements. There's no end to them.
Oh, wait, yeah, isn't there like a new Warhammer game that's coming out? Yeah, it looks sweet as fuck, man. To be fair, I have kind of wanted to get back onto Total War Warhammer. That's a fun game. Nah, not the newest one, because Sarah bought me that one, so it makes me sad. I have like a lot of shit. Like it works fine for me, but the last time I played it, I was like still with Sarah, because she bought it for me. Garfield car. The fuck is so funny? What? Yeah, like what? Yeah, actually. GP. Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
Casualties are mounting. What a disaster.
It was so worth it. We need to get this shit more active, man. Too many people are active, and they're not in this species. Well, what's going on? Yeah, who the fuck is even in this? Oh my god, they're not together anymore? I feel like I got told that and completely forgot. Oh, hmm. Alright, so who's going? Yeah. Fuck. Ooh, that's rough, man. I don't envy that. Ooh. Oh my god. That's not good, bro. Holy fuck. I'm surprised that man's alive right now. Uh, Respect for him. We gotta keep him. Get the harlot out right now. Yeah, are we feeling any guilt about that? Okay. Okay, I'm getting rid of Trinity because he's like never here ever, and he has a crush on me. So I'm not doing that. Yeah. I can just kick her. I mean, I'm never gonna meet her and fucking like. When do I ever use VRChat? Okay, so there's no problems with me kicking her. Okay, right. What have we got here? Who's Naldi? Hmm. Yeah. Okay, who's Astra? Hmm. Yeah, fair enough. What about Hope? Yeah. Okay, this is like it. No. Hmm. Oh yeah. Alright. Yeah, I noticed. I thought she was chill or something. No. Oh yeah, fair enough. Fuck. Ah, that's hot. Yeah, no, fair enough. No, I haven't really broken up about Murray leaving. We're gonna have problems. Fuck's sake. It's so warm in the UK right now. I'm like getting bit by so many fucking insects. Insects. Baby girl, one. Mm.
What up?
Yo, what the fuck is going on?
Yo. Dude, I feel like the ride or dies is just us three, man.
Literally, me.
Wait,
Yeah,
there's
we
a
purged
purging?
like 3 people, bro. Yeah.
Oh, damn, I see that.
We purged some wenches.
The fucking e-thoughts?
Yeah. And the gay guy.
Oh, wait, what?
Trinity.
Who?
Yeah, right. It's some guy that has been on here that has been inactive for the longest time, and we were purging through it, and the dude just doesn't hang out, and he has a crush on me, so it's like,
Whoa,
I
wait,
don't
what?
know.
Is this, first descendant?
Yeah, he's wasting his life away.
Damn. Yeah, this looks pretty fucking weeby. Heard it was like Warframe meets Destiny meets Waifu Simulator.
This is Warframe meets the male gaze.
Destiny wasn't sexy enough, so
Yeah, we had to put a bunch of Asian bitches in it. All the dudes was yellow fever going crazy right now. Slick.
yeah, what the fuck? Is it fun? Hmm.
Freaking harlot. I will remove her as a follower on my Instagram right this instant.
What did she do? I knew that they broke up quite a while ago, but
I can't find her.
maybe she saw that she was kicked and she unfollowed you first, bro.
Yeah, she hates me.
Wait, really?
No. I don't think I've spoken to her in like a year or two.
I know. Wait, Vampy got in there and did that? What the fuck, bro? That's fucked up. Bro, fuck the both of them then. Damn. You don't do that to the family. Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, that's fucked up. I didn't know that shit.
Oh yeah, wait, there was one more person that I wanted to ask about. Who the fuck? Oh my god, yeah. Nikita. Because I'm pretty sure she actually does hate me. Oh my god, yeah, I remember this. Fuck her.
What the
What?
fuck? Ew.
Nuh-uh, she's gone. Bye-bye.
She just tried to come over and get some dick or what?
She can fuck off, man. Oh my god, yeah, I remember this. Why was she so pressed?
Get in the sun, take some vitamin D. Fuck. Get sleep.
Bye.
Hmm.
Delusion.
I mean, to be fair, these are all VR chat people, and I don't know. I mean, I feel like some VR chat people have more mental disabilities than I'm willing to deal with. A couple times.
I get no love.
Damn.